Yo, what is up everybody, and welcome back to another NBA 2K16 Pro Am game. Today we're going to be talking about some NBA free agency deals, at least as much as we can fit in this video, because people are getting paid out of their minds right now, including Timofey Mozgov, who got $64 million over 4 years. A crazy deal, probably one of the worst ones of free agency. But the Lakers also signed one of the best deals in free agency. They signed Jordan Clarkson, 4 years, $50 million, compared to these other deals, compared to like backups getting like $10 million a year. That Jordan Clarkson deal might be one of the biggest bargains out there, considering how young he is. Jordan Clarkson could have definitely held out for more than his agent, but the Lakers got a good deal on that. And they also didn't get a bad deal on Luol Deng, who's getting older, but it's a nice veteran presence to have in the locker room. When you have the D'Angelo Russells of the world and the Julius Randles and the Brandon Ingrams, you need a Luol Deng to help show them how to be veterans, show them how to prepare for the NBA and how to not get in big scandals like the Lakers had last year. And then you got deals like Bradley Beal with the Wizards, who signed for $128 million over 5 years. It sounds like a ton of money. It is a little bit of an overpay, but you have to overpay these guys to keep them. That's just the way free agency works, and no matter what sport it is. And with Bradley Beal, even though he's so injury prone, you have to bet on his potential. The potential to be one of the best shooting guards in the league with that sweet stroke from downtown. If he develops an off the dribble game, Bradley Beal's ceiling is sky high. DeMar DeRozan, he needs to develop his three-point shot, and as well as his defense. But DeMar DeRozan, his deal was like $140 million, $145 actually. But yeah, you have to pay DeMar DeRozan. You can't just, with the Raptors, the way they're building their franchise, they gone so far. You gotta keep Lowry, you gotta keep DeRozan. Hopefully, you could get someone else to help out with that core, along with Valanciunas is there as well. You gotta help building that core to big three. Obviously, they're not close to the Cavaliers, but you can't just throw away DeMar DeRozan. He's one of the best isolation players in the league. You got to keep him around. Andre Drummond, another guy, 5 years, $130 million. You got to bet on his potential. That's a good deal right there. Whiteside got 4 years. I believe it was $100 million. A ton of money for Whiteside. I think he's making almost $25 million a year. But Whiteside, great defender. He's actually worked on his free throw lately, so it's definitely a deal that the Heat had to do. And if it risked them losing Dwayne Wade, then so be it. Wade obviously has been the franchise with the Heat since he got drafted in 2003. But, you have to worry about the future, and Whiteside is the first guy you have to worry about before, thinking about getting Wade all his money and stuff like that. I know they're thinking about getting Durant. They're probably not getting Durant, but we'll see how that works out for the Heat. But they did lose quite a few people. Right now, all they really have is Dragic, maybe Bosch, and Whiteside. So we'll see if they get Wade back, and if they don't get Wade, what they'll do. But they do have Justice Winslow and Josh Richardson. It's just going to be interesting if Wade's bluffing or not. We have to wait and see on that one. And then, a bunch of backup guys like Ish Smith, DJ Augustine, Jared Bayless are getting random deals out of their ass right now. Won't really go over those kind of deals. Nicholas Batum got a big one with the Hornets. He got $120 million over 5 years. And that deal is why the DeMar DeRozan deal looks like, a pretty good deal. Even though it's an overpay, when you look at how much these other guys are making, it's like, all right, you got to pay that much to keep DeMar DeRozan, or you got to keep Bradley Beal for that much. You might as well do it. Batum's a very versatile player, but 5 years, $120 million is a lot to keep that guy. The Hornets have to pay that much just because they don't really attract free agents, even though they have Jordan as their owner. They have to do stuff like that, and, I'm not a big fan of paying Batum that much, to be honest. I think it was a big-time overpay. Like, there's overpays in the NBA, in this NBA free agency, and then there's, like, way too much dollars. Like, Mozgov is getting, and even, like, Nicholas Batum. I'm not too sure he's worth it, and plus he's had some, like, foot injuries and stuff like that the past couple of seasons. Jeremy Lin got $12 million a year, 3 years, $36 million from the Brooklyn Nets. Now, I'm not too sure why he would do that over leaving the Hornets. I think he had a good situation there, but, he probably wanted a starting role, and the Nets is one of the few teams that can promise him that. Obviously, Lin is good pick and roll player, can finish at the rim decently, but not a great defender. So we'll see how Lin does in Brooklyn. At least he's getting paid. At least he's getting the spotlight. He's back in New York. Half-ass Linsanity is back. But the Brooklyn Nets did get a pretty decent deal on Jeremy Lin. I will say that. I'm not sure it was the right move for Lin, but it was definitely a decent move for the Nets to get them, a good guard. They have Jared Jack, but I think he's tore his ACL, so who knows when he's coming back. The Pacers, they've been making a few deals, including signing Al Jefferson, 3 years, $30 million. They did a couple of trades to get Jeff Teague and Thad Young on the team. And with Miles Turner up there, he's probably starting, and you're probably sending Al Jefferson to the bench. But 3 years, $30 million for Al Jefferson off the bench, not a bad deal. Al's, not a great defender or anything like that, but you bring him off the bench, set him up as a post scorer. That's just one more guy to help out Paul George. And when you have Paul George on your team, you have to try to win. So the Pacers are doing all they can to try to win. But, of course, they did fire Frank Vogel, and they have Nate McMillan. We'll see how that whole new setup works, because Vogel was definitely doing a great job with those guys. And we'll just see. I don't know how it's going to work out, but we will see. The final thing we'll talk about in this video, as you guys see, this game is closing down. It's quite a close one. We're starting to get a few buckets to help the team win the game, is what the Grizzlies did. They signed Chandler Parsons to a big deal. Chandler Parsons, a few big knee injuries. But, once again, you got to bend the potential, especially when you're a small market team like the Grizzlies. You don't attract many big names. You have Marc Gasol there right now and an aging Zebo who's about to have his contract up. But, you know, you signed Chandler Parsons to that big deal, and then Mike Conley got the mega deal. The deal almost everyone is talking about. 5 years, $150 million. But yeah, Chandler Parsons, a guy who could be a potential stretch forward like that. There's a lot of value in someone like him, and, you know, pretty good shooter. Could do a little bit of everything, you know. So I like the Chandler Parsons deal for the Grizzlies, and I like the Mike Conley deal for the Grizzlies as well. It looks crazy on paper. A guy who's never made the All-Star team, but Conley's just a great, you know, floor general. He's one of the best floor generals in the NBA as far as, you know, keeping the tempo of the game, keeping everybody involved. He can get his own shot. He's a two-way player. He can play defense and stuff like that. 5 years, $150 million, a big overpay. I would have signed Mike Conley for 5 years, $130 million or something like that. But, I guess the Grizzlies, you know, saw other teams might be willing to pay Conley some big cash, and they did what they had to do to keep him around. He's coming off an Achilles tear, so I don't know how it's going to work out for the Grizzlies, but I like Mike Conley as a player. At this much money, I guess the Grizzlies felt it was necessary to overpay him, and with him, Gasol, and Chandler Parsons, they're hoping they can really build on something. But we'll just see how that works out. But on paper, on the record, I'm actually a fan of the Mike Conley contract. I might be one of the few people, even though it looks bad. I think it's a good idea. And just like that, we're back with part 2 of this video. No joke, as soon as I finished recording the first part of this video, I checked Twitter and I saw Al Horford sign with the Celtics. 4 years, $113 million. That is a huge deal. Horford probably deserves to get paid. Horford has been a winner since he came into the NBA. Before the NBA, he won in college with Florida. He's been to the playoffs almost every single year with the Hawks, and now he joins a Celtics team that is on the verge of building something great. With Brad Stevens, you got Isaiah Thomas there, Jay Crowder. But this is only the beginning of what the Celtics want to do. They want Al Horford there to help recruit Kevin Durant to Boston. And once Kevin Durant, if he signs with Boston, even though he's probably going to the Thunder, let's just say he does, the Celtics apparently plan on getting DeMarcus Cousins. They have a plethora of draft picks, and they plan on using a few of those draft picks to trade for Boogie. So you think of Kevin Durant, DeMarcus Cousins, Al Horford, Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, a couple of the guys off the bench like Smart and Olynyk will be there. The Celtics just began what could be a monster team. Maybe not. And if you don't get Durant, you know, you still have all those draft picks. You can still make a big trade, and you still have Al Horford and Isaiah Thomas. It's definitely a step forward for a team that overachieved and got, what, the 4 seed last year, I believe, and they have a chance to overachieve and get a lot more next season. We'll see how that works out. The Hawks are now Al Horford-less, but they have Dwight Howard. I didn't mention in the first part, but Dwight Howard signed with the Hawks on a mega deal. It's not a long deal, but it is a big thing as far as money. 3 years, $70 million. Dwight, maybe the last big contract of his career, and he's back home in Atlanta. We'll see how he does. Dwight's been switching teams a lot. With Atlanta, he might have a chance to get a few post touches. You got Millsap, you got Schroeder, you got, you know, Korver's aging, you got Bazemore who re-signed for a lot of money, and now you have Al Horford. And Dwight Howard. You don't have Al Horford anymore. And Dwight, you know, we'll see how he does. I'm not sure Dwight really does too much in Atlanta, to be, you know, honest. It would be nice to see if Dwight could develop a post game, but he's never really had too much of it throughout his entire career, and this might be a move that sets Atlanta backward a little bit, because you lost Teague. You have Schroeder, and I think Schroeder's going to be a great player, but you have Bazemore locked up for a lot of money, and I don't think this is the way Atlanta wanted the free agency to play out, put it that way. I don't think they wanted to see Horford leave, and Millsap's on the last year of his deal. He might leave next year. You do have Dwight, but what version of Dwight Howard do you have, and how many games is Dwight Howard paying for you? It's a little bit of a messy situation for Atlanta. Meanwhile, in Rocket Land, a little bit of a silent team. The Rockets have been making some free agent moves the last couple of years. So far, not much, but they did sign Ryan Anderson to a 4-year, $80 million deal, which sounds like a lot, but once again, you have to overpay these guys with the way the cap is booming so high, and the end of the day, that Ryan Anderson deal might actually be a pretty decent one. I like Ryan Anderson as a player, as a stretch four. He's got a little bit extra to a game. He's, he gets step back jumpers and stuff like that. But in that fit with Houston, with Capella, with Harden, with Reza, and Patrick Beverly, it's a good fit for them. It's a good fit. It's a smart signing for them, and we'll see how the Rockets do. I don't think it makes them too much better, but they still have a lot of cap space to play around with and pull off something else. Meanwhile, the Magic, they have been running a very confusing, just since before free agency started. They traded Oladipo. You have Vucevic, who is now on the bench because they signed Bismack Biyombo to, I believe, a 4-year, $80 million deal or something like that. You have Serge Ibaka with him after the Oladipo deal. Vucevic probably getting traded, and Vucevic's contract is a pretty good one, but I'm not sure who's looking in the market for a post-up big who can not really play defense. We'll see how that works out. Vucevic is not a bad player, but I'm just not sure how much he's worth in the market. But the Magic probably have to trade him. Maybe they can make him a sixth man, like the way Al Jefferson's projected to be a sixth man, but and then the Magic, I don't know. They do have Evan Fournier. They did sign Evan Fournier, and I do think that's a pretty decent signing. Fournier has been a pretty good player. They signed him for a lot of money, but I think with the way the Magic were going, like, you can't just let a guy like Evan Fournier walk, a guy who can get buckets. It's 5 years at $85 million. It's not a bad contract, considering Batum got 5 years, $120 million. The Fournier contract could end up being pretty decent. We'll see how that one plays out. Meanwhile, the Hornets, they had Batum. They lost Jeremy Lin, I mentioned before, and they got Marvin Williams back. Marvin Williams actually came on a discounted deal, 4 years, $54 million. He was offered more elsewhere, including Brooklyn, I believe, but he liked the city of Charlotte, and that's big for the Hornets to keep someone around. They had to overpay Batum and ended up underpaying for Marvin Williams, and now they have some cap space to play around with. So you have Kemba, you have Marvin Williams to stretch four, you lost Al Jefferson, but you have Kaminsky. You hope Kaminsky will do some big things, and Batum. So Charlotte should be set up to make the playoffs again. We'll see how that works out. Joe Johnson signed with the Jazz, just throwing out really random signing right there, but Joe Johnson got paid once again. The Jazz is a really weird fit, but it could end up being pretty good. You got Gordon Hayward, you got, I believe, Shelvin Mack still down there, you got Joe Johnson now, you got Gobert, the defensive stuffer, you got Derek Favors, and then you have Rodney Hood as well. So I don't know who starts, how they sort that out, but for Utah to get Joe Johnson a low deal contract like that, like, Joe Johnson's only there to bring out buckets, and that's what Utah need. They need guys to get buckets. They have good defenders and Favors and Gobert. You can get a guy like Joe Johnson to extend your scoring average to more than like 83 points per game. It works out for them. By the way, that Ken Bazemore contract, last thing we'll go over this video, I didn't really talk about it, but I'm not too big a fan of the Ken Bazemore contract. It's not a huge contract, but it is pretty big, and a guy like Ken Bazemore's ceiling's only so high with the Hawks. I'm not really too sure how much he can do. You saw he's athletic, but if he's not developing a jumper to be like a 40% three-point shooter or something big like that, I'm not too sure what exactly he's worth to them. And as long as he can't defend the top guys like LeBron and Durant and stuff like that, the small forwards, if he does develop into that, which is what the Hawks are betting on, you get something big. But once again, you're betting on potential, and I'm just not sure I'm a big fan of the potential of Bazemore. But for the Hawks, you make that deal and you bet on him, and that's just what they did. So leave a like in the video if you guys enjoyed now this extended free agency video with the Al Horford edition, the Celtics playing. Subscribe for more 2K16. Probably do another free agency video tomorrow or whenever some big stuff happens like that. When Durant signs, we'll do something. I'll catch you guys next time. We'll just see what happens.